You and I talked about at the beginning, your team need to come out and throw a punch. In the first 10 minutes tonight, it looked like your guys did exactly that. When things were going well, what was working for you?
Like you said, we talked pregame about the poor starts that we've had recently, and that was a big focus going into this game on the road against obviously a very good basketball team playing their best right now, won 10 in a row, something like that, won the league. And we did. We threw a punch, and it landed, and our guys were ready to play. And we really talked a lot last night and today about having to get off to a good start, especially, in the sold-out arena and the celebration they had before the game. And I was excited. I was excited the way we were playing, the way we were defending. We were battling them around the basket. And then I don't have all the information in front of me, but I know it was at least a 14-0 run with at least one called timeout and immediate timeout, and it unfortunately turned the tide. And then, there at the end of the half, I thought maybe we could close the gap to get it to single digits. We had a 2-for-1 opportunity, and we didn't convert. And in the second half, obviously, it got out of hand.
The thing about Florida, as I watched them tonight, their explosiveness, and some of it has to do with the fact that they've got depth. They got a lot of guys who can shoot it, but the mini runs added up into big ones in the second half tonight. How tough is it when you've got so many guys you got to cover that can hurt you to try and make sure you've got all your bases covered out there?
I mean, they're a good basketball team. They're a good basketball team. It's a heck of a program. They're gearing up for, their eyes to make another run. And we knew it was going to be a challenge, and our theme was what a great challenge, but what an opportunity, and again, we got whipped. This final score was the final score. Not happy about the results. Not happy how it got away from us, but at the end of the day, I thought our kids battled and had a good mindset and played together and tried to figure out a way to stay in the game as long as they could, and unfortunately that just wasn't meant to be.
I watched your guys battle on the boards in there tonight too, and there were times it felt like you could do a lot of things right with regard to checking out, trying to get an inside position, but their length would come into play and they just keep tapping it until they came up with it. How tough is it to go in and rebound when you're dealing against that kind of size?
Well, obviously it's first and foremost thing you're talking about when you're getting ready to prepare and play a team like Florida that just relies on it. It's a big part of their program. It's a big part of their success. And certainly we were outsized, at different points at different positions in the game. I thought we were battling them early, but we had too many possessions, and certainly this is something you got to really watch the film about. But just from the naked eye, we had too many possessions where we had our guys, too many individual guys, were assuming that a teammate was about to get the rebound, and it even looked like, I get it, like they were about to get the rebound, and then Florida would tip it, or one of our guys would tip it, and we had too many guys that were, running to the other end as opposed to like lurking in the paint. And we really talked a lot about before the game of all five guys. A couple of their guards don't crash, and all five had to be in the paint. What we call pick up the trash, the loose balls that squirt away. And when you play them, there's going to be a lot of that. There's going to be tip balls. There's going to be scrums. And I felt there were just too many possessions where I'd look up and it wasn't just one guy. We just had, one possession was this person, one possession was these two. We had too many guys that were leaking out and not running to the fight. And against a Florida team like that, if you keep doing that over the course of 40 minutes, you're going to get crushed on the glass. And as the game got into the last 10 minutes, that's what happened.
Overall, you didn't turn it over a ton tonight. I mean, 13 for the game, but their rate of return on that, 23 points on that. I mean, number one, as you said, they're really good, and they made those hurt. But does their pace force you into some turnovers sometimes that give them easy opportunities to get out and score?
I mean, their length, their length. They got quickness out front with good length out front, and then obviously they got the big guys lurking in the paint, and it certainly gives a lot of teams problems. And the turnovers, like you said, we had too many of them in the second half, especially, and they took advantage of it. I mean, what'd you say? 22, 23 points. We had 2 off their turnovers and only had 5. The rebounding and the turnovers obviously were big parts of of why we didn't stay in the game longer.
All right, so you got one more opportunity in the regular season left to go and defend your home floor. And again, another great opportunity for your guys on Saturday afternoon against the Georgia team, right?
Well, fortunately it's Tuesday, so we'll be able to have a day to reset. And I hate even saying that word because I've had to say it too many times throughout the course of this season, and I don't want to be in this position. I can't stand being in this position, but we are. And we don't have a choice right now. That's the only choice that we have is to figure out a way to get these guys off the mat. And by Thursday when we get going on the court and get them excited to play, another SEC game, play our last game at home, we'll have a bunch of guys that we'll honor before we head to Nashville for the SEC tournament.
Thanks for coming out. Appreciate the time, Coach.
Hail State.